All right, good morning, everyone. I hope you're all doing well on this Thursday. Tomorrow's 4th of July. So I hope you're all having a good day. The webinar that we're doing today is a dealer support webinar to kind of just be here to support you with any questions or issues you're coming across. So feel free to start plugging in any questions that you may have, and our team will start getting those answered for you. And as the presentation goes today, it's a 2-hour webinar. You are free to come and get your question answered and leave. If you want to go take care of other business, you're welcome to stay on for the duration of the webinar. We will be on until 10 o'clock. I'm sorry, starts at 10 o'clock. We'll be on until noon answering questions for you guys. So again, feel free to drop off if you need to at any time. Stay on for the whole time if you want to. We will be here answering those questions. So if you want to start getting those plugged in, I will be answering, reading out loud some of those questions and answers, and Frank and I will be kind of switching off doing that throughout the morning. The presentation that you see scrolling today is going to be on a loop. It's just going to provide you with some great information. We do have some email contacts for specific issues that you may be having or questions that you may have regarding your inventory shipments or allocations. And we do ask that you please limit those inquiries to those specific inboxes. So if you have a question, general question about plate usage or anything like that, this would be the best platform to probably do that, or contact our consumer relation division or your regional service center. But if you do have specific questions to your allocation, if you received your shipment, if you, or have an issue with any of your plates that you've received or anything like that, that would be the email address to reach out to. But with this presentation, we do also have a list of different on-demand trainings that we have available. And there's quite a few available on there. So I believe that is on slide 4 that you'll see scrolling through at some point. But all this information is also available for download. So in the materials tab, if you're on the desktop version, that's going to be the top right. It's going to be next to the little wrench for the settings. It'll have a paper and a paper clip, and it says materials. That will provide you with 3 different handouts that are available. We have the presentation that you're seeing scrolling today. We also have a handout for IMS access that will kind of help with some of the things that you may have questions about relating to IMS and your inventory, being able to view that. And then we also have the web dealer addendum with some helpful information regarding the BTN processes, e-plate assignments, and things of that nature. So please make sure you download this today before you leave. They will not be available after you leave the webinar, but also all this information is also available on our website as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and start reading off some questions. And as you are posting questions, we ask that you provide as much information and context as possible. If we have to reply to a question, if we're needing additional information or anything to kind of better understand your scenario or your question, it doesn't thread the conversations on our end. So if you have to post a new question, it's completely separate from what you posted before, and we're not able to make that connection. So please also provide your P number if you have a specific question regarding that. If you're receiving any kind of error, provide your error code or whatever screen you're on or whatever system you may be operating on. So again, just try to provide as much information as possible so we can try to give you those best answers. All right, so let me get some of these filtered. I'm going to start answering or going through some of these questions that have been answered. Can we process deals that we did in June at the local tag office? So yes, there is a known issue with trying to transfer transactions that were sold prior to July 1st. The system is designed to allow for those sales before July 1st to transfer using your buyer's tag information in WebDealer. However, there is a known issue with that. So what we ask you to do is to try to do that as a manual application instead. So whenever you're in WebDealer, you can do start application manually and not import that information. So normally you would import your buyer's tag information, but that seems to be one of the issues that's causing that. So try doing the application manually. If that still does not work, then yes, you can take that into your local county tax office for processing. Do we need to do a VTN if we buy from an auction and the vehicle comes with no plates? So yes, you will still want to submit a VTN, and whenever you're submitting that VTN, there will be an option to indicate that you did purchase it from an auction, and that will automatically indicate that a plate did not come with that vehicle, and then there would be no plate inventory to transfer to you. But yes, you do still need to submit that VTN and just notate that that did come from an auction. Our plate inventory is still not showing up on our ePlate website. How do we get this fixed? So there may be a couple things. Make sure that you are one, under the correct dealer ID that inventory was allocated to, because we know that sometimes there's multiple dealer IDs that may be in the system. So ensure that you are actually logged in and set to that location in WebDealer or an ePlate for that same location and dealer ID that inventory is allocated to. If you are still having issues, you can definitely reach out to our Consumer Relation Division. That phone number was provided, 888-368-4689, if you do still have issues with that. When do customers receive the stickers for their plates? So those are going to continue coming from the county tax office. So basically, whenever you sell a vehicle, you will assign a metal plate to your customer in place of the buyer's tag. So now they will receive that metal plate at the time of sale. They will leave your lot. They're happy. They have a new car. Then you will transfer that title application within 30 days through WebDealer. And then the county will review and approve that application. Once done is when that sticker is generated. And then you will still continue obtaining those stickers from the county tax office. So like before July 1st, you would take in your paperwork and you would get the plate and the sticker from the county. Now you already have the plates to sign, you're still getting those stickers from the county. So then essentially that process will remain the same, and you'll just work with that county tax office to obtain that sticker once ready. How do I get my plates in inventory? So your initial inventory will automatically be loaded in IMS. You do not need to manually add it. So it should automatically be received for you in the IMS system. Again, just please make sure that you are using the correct dealer ID that inventory was assigned to, and that your permissions are set correctly within the system to view that inventory. And if you'll hear me go silent for a little bit, I'm just scrolling through some questions. Once I go to a question, go out, it takes me back up to the top. So each time I'm scrolling back down, trying to find where I was. Who can we contact if existing access in a WebDealer got changed with the update and we as admin cannot fix it? I have a title specialist who lost access to payments for one of 3 dealers. If you're the admin and can't give access back, yeah, definitely reach out to our Consumer Relation Division at that number provided, the 888-368-4689. So if you're an admin and you're not able to change those settings, there may be something that we need to submit a ticket for. We apologize for any inconvenience there. What do we do when the local tag office will not process June deals? So you may just try to communicate with the county, let them know, what errors you're coming across. Is it an error that you're receiving, or have you tried processing it manually through the system? If not, definitely try that. So you may just not be able to import that buyer's tag information, and try to start the application manually and process it that way. If not, if you're still having issues and you need to take that into the county for processing, just going to have that conversation with them. Why are they not allowing it? And if they continue to not allow that, just reach out to your regional service center and see if they're able to kind of help resolve that issue. We have dealerships listed under 2 different customer numbers. This is causing problems with our inventory as they're listed under the inactive customer number. How do we get this corrected? And I'm assuming you may be referring to the dealer ID if you're meaning that by the customer number. So if you do have multiple dealer IDs, you can transfer that inventory to a different dealer ID under that same GDN. To transfer the inventory, we do have an IMS handout that's available for download under the materials tab. That'll kind of help walk you through that process of transferring that inventory if you need to transfer that to a different dealer ID location within that same GDN. But if you are referring to different GDN altogether, yes, definitely please reach out to our allocations team for more assistance with that. Can a provisional plate be used in lieu of the exempt plate, similar to how it would be with antique or personalized plate? So no, a provisional plate cannot be used for an exempt plate. Exempt transactions must be taken to the county for processing, and the customer will not be able to drive that vehicle from the lot until that is completed, and that is per statute. So if they are needing exempt registration, they will need to leave that vehicle at the lot until they go take that, until that transaction is processed at the county and that exempt plate is obtained. That's when they would put that on the vehicle, but they cannot be issued any other plate type in lieu of that exempt registration. But to also kind of help clarify the other part of that, you said similar to how it would be for antique or personalized plate. So provisional would not be used for those scenarios either. So anything that is qualifying or specialty plate, antique, classic, personalized plates, anything like that, a provisional plate would not be used in those scenarios either. For those, you would just issue a regular general issue plate or whatever type of vehicle that is, if it's trailer plate, motorcycle plate, etc. And then they would need to obtain that special plate or qualifying plate from the county. The only other scenario that a provisional plate would be used for is for apportioned or forestry. So essentially a provisional plate is only used if you do not have the inventory on hand, meaning that if inventory is available for you, you just don't have it on hand. So if you have sold a, let's just say a farm truck, and you don't have those farm truck plates on hand, say you sold your last farm truck yesterday, that's when you would use a provisional plate because you don't have that inventory on hand, but you are able to order it. You just don't have any more, or you don't have any on hand. So that's when you would use that provisional plate. Again, provisional plate is not for anything that you do not have access to as far as plate type, with the exception of apportion and forestry, because those are not obtained from the county tax office either. Those are obtained from your regional service center. Good morning. My question is, what type of plate do we need to provide to our customer when the vehicle is going out to Mexico? So if you do have an export sale and that vehicle is leaving the country, it's not going to be titled or registered in the state or the country, then you would need to go to your local county tax office or regional service center and apply for a temporary registration plate. That's going to be that red plate, and those can only be issued and assigned by the county tax office or regional service center, and that is the only plate that can be used for export sales. Someone commented that website is not valid. It goes to a 404 page. So if you can please let us know what web page. So again, if you're submitting a question, please provide all information as possible so we know what page you're on, what area you're receiving, what system you're using, so we can try to help better assist you if possible. So we know which website is not working. How do I confirm that a plate and vehicle has been added to my inventory? So I'm assuming if you're referring to whenever you submit a VTN, well, let's back up. So you can always verify your inventory in IMS. So you can always log into the IMS side. So whenever you first log into WebDealer, you have the 4 tiles. You have WebDealer ePlate, which has taken place of eTag. You have eTitle, and then you have inventory. So you can log into inventory at any time. You can also toggle between those different applications once logged in under your name. But you can go into IMS, search that P number and dealer location to be able to view any inventory that you have available at that time. But if you are referring to whenever you do a VTN and you're wanting to confirm that that plate that you took in has been added to your inventory, again, you can go into IMS to view that, or you can also you would see that plate whenever you go in to do the next ePlate assignment, then that plate would show in your inventory as available option for a plate assignment. When a customer comes to test drive a vehicle, do we have to register that vehicle? A customer to the blue plate on ePlate. Also, do we have to print the receipt and give the customer before the test drive? No, so for test drives, you will not need to do an ePlate assignment. So if you're just going down the street and back, or taking a little joyride with the test drive, a plate assignment is not going to be required for those test drives. However, if you are giving the vehicle out as a loaner vehicle, or if they're taking the test drive like overnight or for a couple days to kind of test it out, that's when you would want to go ahead and do that e-plate assignment, since that vehicle is technically leaving your dealership's possession and you do not have an agent with that vehicle at that time. So if you are, again, giving a vehicle as a loaner for a customer, or a longer test drive for overnight or for a couple days, yes, please go ahead and do that e-plate assignment and make sure you list that operator for whoever's operating that vehicle. Is there a way to undo a VTN if it was done on the wrong plate number? So a VTN cannot be reversed in WebDealer. You would need to contact your local regional service center to remove a VTN from the system. But also keep in mind that if it's whenever you're searching for a vehicle to do a VTN, you have to enter the plate number and the last 4 of the VIN, or you can now also search for just the VIN to locate that vehicle. So you shouldn't be able to enter just a wrong plate number. But yeah, if something isn't entered incorrectly as far as the VTN process, if it was either done incorrectly, wrong information, whatever may have occurred, that's going to only be removed by going through your local regional service center. When inventorying your plates, I do not see how to verify the ID it requests. So you should have received email communications regarding your plate shipment. There should have been a series of, I believe, 3 different emails. That second email that you would have received would have included that dealer ID. And it's going to be the digits after your P numbers. If you see your GDN and then you see a dash and another number, that's going to be that dealer ID that will kind of identify which location those inventory was allocated to. Someone's asking why can't I order plates yet? The system is not showing tab to order. So that ordering function has not been enabled yet because they are still getting out those initial allocations. So that is not active as of yet. But just keep in mind that once you are able to order, you won't even be able to order until you've used at least 50% of your allocation for your quarterly allocation that was sent to you. So the ordering is not enabled yet, but again, you should not need to order plates because your allocation should be sufficient to get you through a little bit, but that will be communicated once that ordering is enabled. If we purchase a vehicle from dealer or auction, is it required we have the customer phone number to put in VTN? Can we just add the dealer phone number? Yeah, so whenever you're submitting a VTN, they will ask you where that vehicle is being obtained from. So you just indicate that it is coming from an auction, and then you'd use their information. All of our buyer's tags have disappeared from WebDealer, which means we can't register customers that purchased their vehicles in months prior. Is this issue going to be fixed soon? So a couple things there. Yeah, the buyer's tags, when you say they're disappeared from WebDealer, so you're not able to reprint buyer's tags that have already been, assigned or anything like that. But if you're referring to transferring that information into WebDealer, there is a known issue that we're working to resolve as quickly as possible. In the meantime, to transfer a title application, you can go in and do it and start application manually and enter that information manually. And that's a way to be able to kind of get that through WebDealer. But yes, they are working on a fix for that issue. How do I get the dealer agent tag for test drive or employee trips? So for any of those purposes, for business use, test drive, employee trips, if you're needing to take a vehicle to service or to another location, you're selling to auction or anything like that, you can use your standard dealer plates that you may already have. But you can also order the new dealer temporary plates, and those are going to be ordered through e-licensing. But those agent-specific tags and vehicle-specific tags have been eliminated as of July 1st. However, if you do already have some printed out, they will remain valid for the duration of the tag. How are we supposed to transfer from one ID to another under the same P code if our plates were issued under the wrong ID number? So we do have a handout available under the materials tab. It's also a document available on our website. It's the inventory IMS access through WebDealer. Again, that's available in the materials tab to download. but that will provide you with instructions on how to transfer that inventory from one dealer ID to another within that same GDN. Do we do a VTN on new vehicles for dealer trades? These will have no plates and I have not been able to figure out how to do this for trades. So that's correct. A VTN is not going to be required for all vehicles brought into inventory. So if the vehicle does not have a record in the system, if it's a new vehicle on the MSO or MCO, or if it's coming from out of state, you will not be able to do a VTN, and there's no need to do a VTN if there's not a record in the system for that vehicle. We were asked, what is error code 5999? So again, please, if you're submitting a question, you have a question about an error code or a specific issue that you're running into, please provide us with as much information as possible. Like, what system are you using that you're seeing this error code? What screen? What are you attempting to do? So please provide as much information as possible, because our questions are not threaded. So if we have to send a response or reply to a question to get more information, it does not connect that information for us on our side. We have a question asking about, so if you were taking a trade for a vehicle and assigning that same plate within 10 days. So essentially, if you take in a trade in and there's a plate on the vehicle, you submit your VTN and you let the system know that yes, there was a plate that remained on that vehicle. And whenever you take that in, it will automatically transfer that plate to your inventory. And that plate will be available in your inventory for 10 days. And then that can be transferred to any other vehicle of the same class. If it goes past that 10 days, then you will need to destroy those plates, and it should automatically fall out of your inventory to not assign that. So just kind of keep that in mind. If you do not see that in your inventory, then that plate would need to be destroyed after that 10 days. But yes, it can be transferred to a different vehicle of the same class within that 10-day time period. What will I need to do if I still can't see my inventory? There may be a couple issues of why you're not able to see your inventory. First of all, make sure that your permissions are set accordingly in WebDealer to be able to kind of track and view that inventory information. Also, make sure that you enter the correct dealer ID. So whenever you're in IMS and you search in your P number and you find a location to view, make sure you also go over and hit search. By hitting search, that will load that inventory for that specific location. So just if you do the drop down and you don't hit on search, it may not be uploading that information or updating that information. So again, please make sure you're clicking on search once you select that specific dealer ID. Is there an option for unwinding a plate issue to a vehicle that has been returned to the dealer? So yes, you are able to void plate assignments. So if you have sold a vehicle, you've assigned that metal plate, you did the e-plate assignment, they bring it back a few days later and that deal unwinds, just go in and there is an option to void the plate assignment. And once done, that will automatically place that plate back into your inventory.
All right, Laura, I can jump in here for you.
All right, thanks. I'll take over in the chat.
All right, so continuing on here with the questions. Next question I see. Do the export plates require the customer's proof of insurance? So yes, in order to get those red temporary registration plates, a photo ID and Texas liability insurance is required. And as far as needing an inspection for those red temporary registration plates, again, they're not going to be required. So you're not going to need that emissions test as well. Again, photo ID, Texas liability insurance to get those red plates. Again, those are going to be the ones used for export. And as far as the cost, again, there's going to be two options. It's going to be $9.75 for the one trip. And for the 30-day, that is going to be $29.75. Okay, I think I've seen quite a few individuals trying to locate the materials tab. So within GoTo, you should see it at the top of the screen. It's going to be a paper and paperclip icon. On there, you're going to find three different files in there, but it's going to be next to the questions box. But again, you're looking for that paper and paperclip icon. Okay, which plates are for trailers? Is that the red plate or purple plate? Again, you're going to have general issue trailer plates. So when you are going to have those trailer transactions, you are going to be issuing the black and white trailer plates. Okay, what is e-licensing, or where is e-licensing? So I see a link on here that was provided, but e-licensing, again, you're going to utilize to get those blue dealer temporary plates, and you can continue to use that as well for the standard dealer plates. Again, those will coexist. So if you need to renew those standard dealer plates, that'll be through e-licensing as well. If you need to order the new blue dealer temporary plates, that is going to be through e-licensing as well. Okay, if I go buy a vehicle from auction, do I have to do a VTN once I bring that into my inventory? That is correct. Again, anytime anything is entering your guys' inventory, whether that's from a trade-in or purchase from an auction or another dealer, you are going to submit those VTNs. The only exception is if those vehicles are coming from out of state and there's no Texas record, or if maybe it was a brand new vehicle coming in from a manufacturer. In those cases, you would also not submit a VTN for. Okay, clarification. If a customer is requesting farm plates, will we need to issue a provisional plate and the customer is allowed to take possession of the unit at that time? So yes, in the event that you ran out of those farm plates, then you can utilize that purple provisional plate. Then again, that will be valid until that farm plate is provided. Once that plate is issued, that is when that purple plate has that 7-day expiration. Again, you're swapping them out. then that purple plate needs to be destroyed. Okay, I see here some confusion regarding an out-of-state customer. Do we have to go into the tax office for a red plate? So if you have a customer that is going to title a vehicle out of state, in ePlate, you're going to mark it accordingly. Then it'll prompt you to add that out-of-state plate, and those are the green ones. You would assign that plate, attach it to the vehicle so that they can go and title and register it in their state. In the event that you don't have those green out-of-state plates, then yes, you would have to go into the county tax office to get one of those red temporary registration plates, again, so that that customer can drive to their states and get their title and registration done in their home state. Okay, if we are selling a vehicle to auction, do we have to put plates on the vehicle even if it's not being driven to the auction? So right, you're going to utilize those dealer plates if it is going to be driven. Then they would be removed and brought back to your guys' dealership so that you can reuse them. But if they are being trailered and they're not going to be driven, so if you have a few cars, again, like I'm saying, like you're going to have those trailered, then yes, you wouldn't have to have that plate to get them over there. But if they are going to be driven, then yes, you will need those dealer plates assigned to those vehicles. Okay, next question here. If a customer is trading in their car and he wants his plates back, do we have to keep it or return it? So yes, again, you can transfer those plates to that customer's new vehicle. You do have that flexibility. You can reissue those plates. Let's say the customer doesn't need them. You can reissue them to your next sale. Doesn't have to be to the same customer. Doesn't need to be to the same vehicle. It just needs to be to the same vehicle classification and within 10 days. Anything beyond that, you are going to destroy those plates. But absolutely, if a customer wants to keep those plates and use them for their next vehicle, they can absolutely do so. Okay. Okay, when it comes to the blue dealer temporary plates for test drives, again, you don't have to go into ePlate if that is going to be just for test drives. Anything else, you are going to go into ePlate and log that information. For example, if it's going to be used to transport to service or maybe to another dealer location or whatever it might be, maybe an auction, right? You do have to log that information into ePlate. Otherwise, for test drives, you are not going into ePlate and assigning them to every vehicle that will be test driven. Okay, for those out-of-state customers and they have those green out-of-state plates, do they need to be returned? They do not. Again, we advise you let that customer know to destroy that plate, and you want to make sure that that plate is not being misused. But you can let that customer know that, yeah, they can keep that plate in their garage if they like. But what we recommend is cutting those plates up, again, with metal shears or a metal recycler, but they're not expected to be returned. They're not required to be returned. VTNs are for Texas registration. What can I do for a VTN for a vehicle that is registered out of state? So again, if it's out of state and there is no Texas record, you are not submitting VTNs for. Okay, if you need to request an increase in your plate allocation, that is going to be through the IMS. If you've watched our IMS training yet, it does show you where you can request that increase. Essentially, it's going to be on the attachment screen, but in our materials tab, if you get the House Bill 718 dealer support file downloaded, there is going to be a training slide. On that training slide, there is going to be that IMS training available, and it walks you through when you get to that process so that you can submit the required information so that you can request that increase. Okay, the red temporary registration plates, those are not going to be sent to dealers. So when it comes to that plate, if you need one for export, again, that is going to come either from a regional service center or a county tax office. Okay, what is the difference between the $10 plates and the $90 plates? And this is in reference to the dealer temporary plates. So the $90 one, that is the one that has existed. That is going to be your standard dealer plate. That plate you can utilize for personal purposes. And the $10 plate, that is going to be the blue dealer temporary plate. That's the one that cannot be used for personal use. Okay, that's going to be just for business purposes. Okay, what is the cost for each out-of-state plates? So when it comes to the plates cost, there's going to be no associated fees for those out-of-state plates, being the green ones. There's also going to be no cost for the buyer provisional plates or the general issue plates. Okay, the only one that you as dealers would need to purchase, again, is going to be the blue dealer temporary plate, which is again $10, or the standard dealer plates, which those are $90, and these again align with your 2-year license. Okay. Now, when it comes to who needs to be the one applying for those red temporary registration plates in the event that it's going to be for exports, again, this is going to be a business practice. It doesn't need to be the dealer. It can be the customer that goes to apply for those plates. But again, that is going to be based on your business practice on how you determine that. But yes, the customer can go apply for those plates, or it can be the dealer as well, again, if that's the service that you guys provide. Okay, the process for applying for a rebuild title, that is going to remain the same. So that is going to be at your tax office. That process is not changing. Okay, how long does it take to get the registration sticker from the county? That is going to depend on the county and what their process looks like. So after you have submitted that transaction to the county, and at that point you're waiting for the county to review it, approve it, and then collect the payments. And how they get that sticker out to you all is going to depend again on the county. The county will let you know what that looks like if they have you come pick those stickers up. Maybe they will mail them out, but get with the county and they'll let you know what that process is and kind of what that turnaround time looks like. That county will have all that information for you. And again, each county is going to be different. So if you are experiencing issues seeing the inventory in your IMS, you can utilize your internet down receipts to continue those business operations. Okay, next question here. If I sell a car on the weekend and the customer has to leave the state or export that car right away, do I have to give him a provisional plates? No. So again, out of state plates, you would not issue those provisional plates. And then much like export use, you are also not going to assign provisional plates. Those have to be the red temporary registration plates that come from a regional service center or a county tax office. Okay, are the red plates only for export use? No. So that is the plate that can only be used for exports. But again, you still have, much like prior to July 1st, that one trip and 30-day permit. So it would still serve those same purposes. But again, that's this one that can only be used for export. Okay, are there step-by-step guides on doing a trailer sale? So we do have a training that walks through a trailer transaction that can be found on the materials tab. Again, you're going to be looking for that dealer support file on the training slide itself. There's going to be links to all of those different trainings, but there is a training tailored to trailer dealers on there. Okay, again, as another reminder here, those red plates are going to be utilized in the event that you run out of green out-of-state plates. So if you have a customer that is needing to leave to another state and you don't have any more green ones, that is when you're going to use the red plate as well, again, from the Regional Service Center or the County Tax Office. Okay, when it comes to the general plates expiration here, so when you assign that plate an E-plate, being that black and white general plate, that will be valid until the county provides that sticker. So from that date of sale, again, you have 30 days to submit that to the tax office. If you submit it on day 29, and it takes the county 2 weeks to review it, approve it, and collect the payment for it, get that sticker out, that plate that you had issued, again, that'll still be valid until that customer has that registration sticker. Okay, how do we assign a standard dealer plate to a specific agent and not identify a specific VIN? So those plates do need to be associated with that specific vehicle. Once you do go in there to make that assignment is when you would add that individual's name as an operator, but they do need to be to that specific vehicle. Okay, another question here. Can we buy and have or store the red plates and we use it as needed? So no, again, those need to be purchased at the county tax office or regional service center. So you wouldn't be able to have those plates on hand. Again, those are going to only come from the regional service center or county tax offices. And as another reminder, um, when you are providing us questions, please make sure that you are entering all of the information in one message, because if you need to provide additional context, it's going to get lost in the sea of questions. So provide us all of the information in one question. So be as descriptive as possible so that we can answer those questions. Because again, if you need to provide more context and you send it in a separate message, it is going to get lost in the sea of questions and it's hard to track those questions, okay? Okay, so can you access WebDealer at any time to submit a BTN if the buyer cannot visit during business hours or holiday, or if the business is open? So yes, that application itself, it will, first of all, the VTN is going to be submitted through ePlate. And again, that's going to be on the Plates tab. You're going to go down towards the bottom of the drop down, find vehicle transfer notifications. But yes, customer doesn't need to be there. Um, you would be able to still submit those VTNs for that vehicle. Okay, and as another reminder here, vehicles should not be sold without a title. So if you don't have that title, you should not be selling those vehicles. Okay, in the event that you have not received those blue dealer temporary plates, again, you can still utilize your standard dealer plates, or if you had any tags printed prior to that and they're still valid, those will continue to be valid until their expiration dates. But again, you can still utilize those standard dealer plates. Okay, how do you order more plates if you run out? Again, you're going to utilize IMS to do so. It hasn't been enabled yet. Once it does become available, again, once you dip below 50% of your allotted inventory, then yes, you can start utilizing IMS to place those orders.
All right, Frank, I'm going to tag in for you.
All right, thanks, Lori.
All right, can we transfer DV plates? So yes, you can transfer DV plates or any other kind of specialty plate. So whenever you're going in to do the plate assignment in ePlate, you will be able to indicate that it's a customer supplied plate. You will enter that plate number that they have that they're transferring and validate that plate number, and you'll be able to transfer that to their new vehicle. A customer is trading in their car and he wants to keep his plates back. Do we have to keep it or return it? So I'm assuming if the customer is wanting to keep their plates, then yes, they can keep the plates off of their vehicle. But if they're wanting to keep their plates to transfer to another vehicle that they're purchasing from you, what you'd want to do is to leave those, we'll just say on the vehicle for inventory purposes. So whenever you're submitting that VTN, you will indicate that that plate remained with that vehicle. And what that does is that will put that plate back in, or that will put that plate into your inventory. Then if that same customer is purchasing another vehicle from you, whenever you go in to do the plate assignment, you can select that same plate and be able to transfer to their new vehicle. So I'm not sure if that's quite what you're asking, but hopefully that does help. If it doesn't, let us know. We can try to help clarify. Or if you're just asking if they can keep the plates off of their vehicle and not trade them into you, that is fine too. If they want to keep their plates and hang them on their wall, they're able to do so. You will just indicate that whenever you submit that VTN that the plates did not remain with the vehicle. We had someone ask, what is the deal number? So deal number is just kind of more for internal purposes for you guys. Some dealers use deal numbers and some don't. They just kind of help them organize their deal jackets with a specific deal number. So if you don't utilize that at your dealership, that's not a problem. You don't need to. But some dealers do use that, so that is an option for them to be able to enter that deal number to attach that to that transaction. Can we purchase the green out-of-state plates at the tax office? If so, what is the cost? So no, those green out-of-state plates you cannot purchase from a county tax office or regional service center. Those are going to be plates that you were going to be able to order through IMS. So that ordering functionality is not enabled yet, but once it is, that will be an option for you to be able to go in and place an order for those plates. And there's no cost to you for those plates. So these plates are being provided to you by the state. So there's no cost to you for these plates that are being allocated to you. So VTNs are for Texas registrations. What can I do to do a VTN for a vehicle that is registered out of state? So you will not be able to do a VTN for a vehicle that's out of state. So anything that does not have a Texas record, you cannot do a VTN for because there is not a record to attach that VTN to or inventory to take in from that vehicle. So again, if it's either out of state vehicle or if it's a brand new vehicle on an MSO, that neither one of those are going to have a Texas record in the system. So VTN cannot be done in the system. And you will not need to do one because it cannot be done. Will questions and answers for this chat be available to download so we can reference as needed? So yes, we are actually going to post the recordings from each of these sessions onto our website. I believe we're in the process of getting the previous ones uploaded to our website, but yes, we will post these for available reference. We have I'm not sure if it's a question or comment. It says token trailer for trailers. So we didn't quite understand your question. You may have already submitted another question with more clarification, but just as a reminder, if you are submitting a question, please try to provide as much context information that we can so we can try to help better assist you. But if you're asking for token trailer for trailers, I'm going to assume that you're asking how maybe those are assigned. So if you are in ePlate and you're doing a plate assignment, if you have that inventory assigned to you, which you should if you have history of that token trailer sale, then you'll be able to select a token trailer from your inventory for that plate assignment. And just a couple other reminders while we're at it. We do have handouts available. So under the materials tab at the very top right, if you're on the desktop version, you'll see a paper with a paper clip. Click on materials and you'll see 3 different handouts that are available. We have the presentation that you're seeing scrolling today available in a PDF format that does have clickable links. So the trainings that you're seeing on the screen here, you can click on those and register for those different trainings that are available. Once you click on them, it will ask you to register, but then once you enter your information, you'll immediately have access to those recording for those trainings. And then we also have the IMS Access Through Web Dealer handout. This will help provide information about how to view your inventory in IMS, how to transfer inventory from one dealer ID to another, your permissions for IMS through with the web dealer system. So it's definitely a great handout to refer to if you have any questions or issues regarding your inventory. And then we do also have the web dealer addendum that will provide some information regarding the new changes with ePlate, the BTN process, plate assignments, things of that nature. And we do ask that you please do not submit questions more than once or the same question more than once. We promise we will try to get to that. We have a team on here trying to answer as many questions as possible that we're going to try to get to today. Another reminder, if you do not have an immediate need to access the systems, whether that's ePlate, IMS, web dealer, whatever it may be, please try to refrain from accessing those systems if you do not absolutely need to do business in them. With the increased volume, I know everyone's curious, everyone wants to get in there, kind of play with it. But for those that are needing to do business in the system, please allow them to do business with less volume on that site. Because we have noticed that for the IMS specifically, that system is very much lagging. So if you are having issues with IMS and trying to transfer inventory or view inventory, that may just be due to the volume of people that are on that site. So again, if you do not have immediate business, please try to refrain from accessing that so that those that need to are able to do so. All right, here's some more questions. What plate can we assign to agents? So for your agents, if you are needing to transport a vehicle or whatever you may be doing for your business use, that can be your dealer plates. So that can either be the blue dealer temporary plates or your standard dealer plates that you may already have. Both of those or either one of those can be used for business use for your agents. And to assign that plate, you'll go into ePlate assignment and be able to assign that plate to that agent. However, we are hearing that there are issues currently with trying to assign those dealer plates in the system. So if you do encounter that, you may just try to refreshing that screen. Again, it may be an issue with the volume of people on that system. So if you are needing to do a plate assignment, please just keep trying, and our team is working diligently to try to get these issues resolved. If we get a customer a red plate because we have not received our permanent plates yet, once the permanent plate comes in and we retrieve the red plate from the customer, are we able to reuse the red plate when and if needed? No, that is not a plate that can be reused. That plate was assigned to that vehicle by the county tax office or regional service center, so that cannot be reused, and you will not have an option in the system to assign that to a vehicle or to a customer. If another red plate is needed, you would need to apply for a new plate through the county tax office or regional service center. And if you have not received plates, if you've not received any kind of inventory, there may be various reasons for that. If you've not completed web dealer training, you would have not been on the list to receive inventory. But regardless of the reason, if you have not received inventory and you do have a customer sale, you can go to your local county tax office or regional service center and apply for that temporary registration plate for your customer so they can legally operate that vehicle, and then at a later time be able to transfer that transaction through your local county tax office. When selling a salvage vehicle, do we need to assign a plate? No. So salvage vehicles are not legally operable to be on roads, so they will not get any kind of plate or any kind of registration. May I please have blue plate information repeated as far as what to do when received? Do they need to be assigned to the system or in the system to the agent and to a specific vehicle every time a vehicle is transported to and from auction to dealer premises and vice versa? Yes, so if you are transporting that vehicle, pretty much if it's going to be used for anything other than a quick test drive, it does need to be assigned in the system to a vehicle and to an operator, and you will do that through e-plates. What happens when we assign a plate in e-plate and get an error when printing the receipt and then the system doesn't show the plate's been assigned? So again, this may just be an issue of the volume of people trying to access the system. So if you come across that issue, you may just kind of refresh it a couple times and see if the system is able to catch up with that assignment that you placed in the system. And maybe a few minutes later, that receipt would be available to print. If it does not, go ahead and give our Consumer Relation Division a call at 888-368-4689. As you can imagine, they do have a long wait time at this time. We do apologize for that. But again, if you are not needing to access these systems, please try to stay out of them for those people that are needing to do these plate assignments and transfer their inventory, so that those are able to be done a little bit easier with a little bit less lagging in the system. Are we allowed to still use our paper agent tag till it expires? Yes, so any temporary tag that was issued prior to 7/1 will remain valid for the duration of that tag. So whether that is a buyer's tag, an agent tag, whatever may have been assigned or issued is valid for that duration of that tag. And to kind of clarify that as well, because I know there's been questions throughout the different webinars, if the buyer's tag was assigned to that customer for a sale transaction prior to 7/1, again, that virus tag will remain valid for the duration of that tag for that 60 days. They do not need to come back into you and get a metal plate because that temporary tag will be valid. Are heavy truck plates like combination submitted at county tax office, or do we submit at web dealer and pick up plates at county office? So the system has been programmed to be able to process combination plates through web dealer. However, there's currently an error with the fees that are being assessed to that transaction. So at this time, we will continue submitting those to the county for processing for combination plates. But you should have those combination plates on hand for your inventory to be able to sign that plate from your location at that time of sale. And then that title application would just be submitted to the county for them to be able to process that. If you happen to not have combination plates on hand, you'll be able to order some once that ordering functionality is enabled. I was not aware I needed to do VTNs for vehicles bought in the auction. I do not do trade-ins yet. What should I do? So that was effective July 1st. So if you have taken in vehicles from auction, prior to July 1st, there's nothing that you need to do for those. So just anything that you purchase from anyone, whether that's a trade-in, a dealer-to-dealer transaction, if you purchased it from an auction, if you are the buying dealer, is whenever you want to make sure you go in and do a VTN in the system, and that's going to be done in ePlate. When would we use a 1-day permit or a 30-day permit? So 1-day permit is basically like a one-trip permit if it's just going from point A to point B, which would essentially be for those export sales. The 30-day permit is going to be for a 30-day registration that would be required. So for those dealers that have not received their inventory, you are able to go to the county tax office or regional service center, apply for a temporary registration plate to be able to allow that customer a 30-day temporary registration permit. But there's multiple uses for those 30-day permits. Again, it can be from point A to point B for those 1-day or one-trip permits, or 30-day permits if it's either between registration. So a 30-day permit cannot be applied to anything that currently has valid registration. So it just kind of varies depending on the different uses and scenarios. Are we able to go to the tax office and trade out plates? Trade out of state buyer for general use? No. So the county tax office inventory, or the county tax office will not be able to handle or help you with anything regarding your inventory, because the inventory is going to be provided by the state, not by the county. So there's nothing that the county can do as far as trading out plates or giving you plates or anything like that. So your plate inventory will have to go through the department and through the IMS. Is there a step-by-step guide available for doing a trailer sale? So we actually do have a web dealer training available for specific to trailers. That's going to be available. I think it's on the next slide that we're going to see here. The different on-demand trainings that we have available. We do have one specific to trailers as far as web dealer. Also on our ePlate plate assignment training, we do have a specific section for trailers there as well. So either one of those systems either one of those trainings you can access to try to get more information. So as you can see on the slide here, the second section, Web Dealer Transaction Training. The second one you see is how to process Web Dealer trailer transactions. That's the one you can access for specific to Web Dealer. And then if you're asking again about the ePlate assignments, that will be available in that ePlate training. If a red plate needs to be issued at the local tax office for export, does the actual buyer need to do this personally? Or if he's not present and sends a driver to pick up the vehicle, can the driver be issued the plate? Or does the buyer have to be present and have a valid ID to show proof of insurance? Either you or the buyer can submit that application. Essentially, the application can be submitted by anyone as long as whoever is actually operating that vehicle has signed the application, provided their information. It does have to have proof of insurance, and essentially that can be done by either party as long as the required information is on that form. If you don't have the out-of-state plate for buyer on a Saturday, the county tax office is not open to issue the red plate, what do we do then? Are we not going to be able to do sales on a Saturday? So unfortunately that is correct. If you do not have out-of-state buyer plates, the next option would be to purchase a temporary registration plate. However, if that sale does occur on a weekend and that county tax office is not open, then you would need to wait until that county tax office or regional service center is available for that plate. But that is why it's important to make sure you do have the proper inventory and to kind of keep an eye on your inventory. If you did not receive an allocation of out-of-state buyer plates, please reach out to our allocations team on that email provided on the, I believe it's the second or third slide. That's a dealer_allocations. But again, please, if you're emailing that inbox, please make sure that is specific to your allocation questions or your shipment needs or anything like that. For generic questions about uses of those plates, that can be directed to us, our Consumer Relation Division, Regional Service Center, etc. Do we have to assign plate and e-plate in order to register in title in Web Dealer? That is correct. So to be able to transfer in Web Dealer, it either has to have a buyer's tag information or an e-plate assignment. So again, there are known issues with the transferring or transporting of the buyer's tag information. But if you were able to apply for that transaction or transfer it manually and start the application manually. But again, that is only for sales prior to 7/1. Anything after 7/1 will have the e-plate assignment. And once that is transferred in Web Dealer, that e-plate assignment will carry forward and transfer through the Web Dealer system. So we have two locations listed in Web Dealer, both under the same P number. One is our legal name and the other is our DBA name. Our plate inventory resides in the legal name location while our title apps print with our DBA name. How can we reconcile this? So if your inventory was allocated to the other P number, your legal P number, you can actually transfer that inventory to your DBA dealer location. So as long as they are within that same P number, you can transfer from one location to another. So there is a handout attached on the materials tab. You can download that handout, and that will help provide you some directions and guidance on how to transfer that inventory to the other dealer ID. And if you have sent an email to the allocations inbox, please do not repeat those emails. I saw someone comment the other day that they have sent an email to the allocations team every day. Please do not do that. That's only going to slow down the process. It's not going to help anything at all. So please do not submit inquiries more than once to the allocations team or on the chats here as well. But we do have a large team trying to work through those inquiries. And as you can imagine, there's thousands of inquiries coming through that inbox. So just please be a little bit patient with us. We're trying to get through those as quickly as possible and make sure we're providing you that support and getting the help and answers that you need for your inventory. Can we use plates that we saved prior to July 1st since the plates were shipped do not show up in our IMS system yet? So yeah, if you took in those vehicles prior to July 1st, then they're not going to show in your inventory because there's no way for that system to know that you have that inventory. So if anything that you took in before July 1st, just destroy those plates. You're not going to be able to reuse those. You're not going to be able to add them to your inventory. What receipts are you talking about in place of internet down tags? I've not received anything for plates. So if the internet down receipts are taking place of internet down tags, there was a communication sent out on June 18th giving you guidance on how to print out some of those internet down receipts to use for any issues that you may be encountering with our system. So you can go into ePlate, download and print those receipts if you have not already, but those internet down receipts have taken place of those internet down tags. On the government fees, when we make a sale, how much has to be the title fee, license, registration, inspection fee, etc. So that's the great thing about WebDealer. WebDealer will pre-calculate everything for you in the system. So if they transfer over a special plate, it will calculate those special plate fees or anything related to that. If it's exempt from sales tax, that will automatically be calculated as well. Also, the processing county, whenever you make that selection in WebDealer, that's also what triggers those specific county fees. So you probably already aware that depending on which county you process transactions with, their fees may vary by county. So whenever you select that processing county, that is how that is calculated in the system automatically. How do we get the current owner name if auction doesn't always have the title when we buy the vehicle? So a couple things. You always want to make sure you're getting a title for a vehicle. But if you do not have that information, you also can have access to our Twix system. If you do not, I say Twix, I believe it's called MVINet now. But you can go to our website, search for MVINet, and there is a subscription that you can sign up for basically to get access to our motor vehicle record system to get that owner information if necessary. But again, the auction should be providing you with the proper documentation If they are not, you may want to hold them accountable for providing that documentation so that you do have that correct information to report.
All right, Lori, I can tag in here for the last 30 minutes here.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
All right, so let's continue forward here. So as a reminder here, we are coming up on 30 minutes before we end this webinar. Definitely utilize this time to go into the materials tab, which again, that's going to be located on the top of GoTo here. You're looking for that paper and paperclip icon. Get those 3 different files downloaded so that you have those resources available. Again, we have some changes that were made. So we have a web dealer addendum in there. So that file is going to show you how to submit those vehicle transfer notifications. It walks you through how to do so if they're coming in from auction or if it's from another dealer. It's going to have those step-by-step guides on how to fill out that information. Then there is the file for this presentation that has been cycling through. There's a lot of good emails on there, some good contact information. But most importantly, the training slide, it has links for a ton of different trainings available to you all. The 3 biggest trainings on there, there's going to be the metal plates training. There's the training on how to utilize IMS, the inventory management system. Then there's also going to be the E-plate training. So that'll show you how to assign plates using E-plates. It's going to have a walkthrough on when you are assigning a provisional plate, customer supplied plates, and those dealer plates, as well as printing off those internet down receipts. So a ton of good information in there. Again, make sure you have that downloaded so you have those links. Now let's move on to getting more of these questions in. So if a buyer is exporting a vehicle and he has to have insurance to get the red plates to be able to export it, that is correct. So that process is remaining the same. So that individual will need that Texas liability insurance to get those plates so that they can drive on the Texas road so they can get it to export. Now, if something to consider, again, if that customer is going to trailer that vehicle or tow that vehicle, that would be something to take into consideration. So you don't have to get that red plate. But again, if it's going to be driven, you do need that red plate, and the Texas liability insurance is required. Okay, and if you are needing web dealer information or web dealer requirements, we do have a web dealer guide. I do see a few questions regarding the surrender stamp and its dimensions and what that needs to look like. So again, that web dealer guide, we have all of those information, and that can be found on our website. That'll have what you need as far as that surrendered stamp. Okay, what is taking place of the temporary plates that we issue for each sale, allowing for 60-day drivability? Again, now you are issuing a general issue plates, and those will be valid until that registration is completed and that sticker is provided. Okay, when I try to receive inventory on ePlate, nothing pops up. What can I do? Again, as far as the receiving process, that would be through IMS, but for your initial order, that is going to be automatically received for you. Okay, when it comes to plates from auction, Again, those general issue plates wouldn't be used for those vehicles. So if they're coming back from auction with those metal plates, um, those will need to be destroyed of because you should be using your dealer plates to transport them. But when you go to sell those vehicles from auction, you are going to issue new general issue plates. Okay, will there still be the 72 and 144 hour permits? So those are still going to be available. So those are not going away. How do I get the current owner information if auction doesn't always have the title when we buy the vehicle? Again, in the VTN process, there is going to be that option to mark that it's coming in from auction, so you're not going to need that previous owner's information. You'll just fill out the required fields. Again, make sure that you are marking that it is from auction. Okay, are we still allowed to use our paper agent tags until it expires? That is correct. So those will still be valid until its expiration date. Okay, so the general issue plates stay with the vehicle even after the sticker is provided. That is correct. So again, when you are assigning those metal plates an E-plate so that that customer can leave your lot, that is going to be their permanent plate. It becomes permanent once that sticker is provided, but that'll be the plate that'll remain on that vehicle. Okay, so I do have an individual asking about the dealer plate assignments again. So when it comes to those blue dealer temporary plates, again, you're going to assign those in the event that that is going to be used for transporting a vehicle. That could be transporting to service, maybe it's being transported to auction, or maybe to another location. That is when you're going into E-plate and assigning those plates. Now, if it's going to be for test drives, you don't have to go into E-plate and assign those plates. Essentially, that salesperson is going to use that plate and attach them to the vehicle that they are test driving. So if that individual needs to do 5 test drives for a customer, they're just going to move that plate to the next vehicle. You don't have to go into E-plate and assign them. Okay, when it comes to issuing the plate to that customer, If it's going to be that general issue plate, it does need to be both plates in the front and the back. The green one and the purple one, so the out-of-state plate and the purple provisional, those will only have one plate. Those will only go on the back. But for the general issue, yes, those are going to be the front and back of the vehicle. All right. And more clarification on transporting vehicles to or from auction. Again, you can utilize your standard dealer plates, or those can be the blue dealer temporary plates. Okay, I see an individual here asking about how to transfer plates in e-plates when I sell a car. So again, in our trainings, specifically talking here about our e-plate training, we do walk through how to transfer those plates. If it's going to be a plate that that customer has in the sales portion after you have added the sale date, it's going to ask you if it's going to be for export use. You'll mark no. Then title and registration in Texas. But there are going to be two options. There's going to be the general issue plate option when you're assigning new general issue plates, or there's going to be a customer supplied option. That is what you're going to utilize for those plates that that customer is transferring. What are the purple plates used for? And that is going to be when you don't have that available inventory for that plate type. So a good example would be if you ran out of farm plates, maybe you can use the purple provisional plate. Another example would be apportion plates. You could also utilize the purple provisional plate for your apportioned customers. All right. Okay, in the event that you don't have plates, and if you need um, a sale, you are going to go to the county tax office to continue operations. You will get one of those red temporary registration plates. Okay, another follow-up here on the blue plates. So are my dealer tags basically blue plates? That is correct. So those blue dealer temporary plates are taking place of those agent tags. All right, continuing on here. Okay, so is it required to go into E-plates for those export vehicles? So yes, you are going to go into E-plates and mark that accordingly. So it is going to ask you if it's going to be for export use. So that is used to make sure that the record reflects that. Much like in title only scenarios, when plates are not going to be issued, you're still going into ePlate and marking that information. So again, that record reflects that. Okay, in the event that you have to provide a loaner vehicle, those do need to be logged in ePlate. So for loaner vehicles, you are going into ePlate and assigning those blue dealer temporary plates. Okay, essentially the only time that you are not going in there to assign plates is when it's going to be used for test drives. Okay, do dealers still have 45 days to transfer the sale and web dealer if it's for dealer resales? That is correct. So for those dealer resales, 45 days. Otherwise, it's going to be 30 days on that from that date of sale on when you need to submit that to the county tax office. Okay, in the event that a customer is going to use those traded in plates for their new vehicle, when you're going in there, you are going to provide that plate number in there in the customer supplied option so that that plate can be attached to their new vehicle. Okay, when a vehicle is bought as a salvage and have to do the rebuild to title, we still go to the tax office. That is correct. That process is remaining the same. Right. And again, um, you as dealerships from that date of sale, you're going to have 30 days to get that submitted to the county tax office. For the seller finance, that is the 45 days. Okay, what is the cost of the blue plates? So the blue dealer temporary plates, those are going to be $10. Again, those will coexist with the standard dealer plates, which will remain $90. Those are going to be ordered through e-licensing. Okay, and as another reminder here, so the ordering plates option in IMS has not yet been enabled. So you won't see that in there quite yet. Okay, and for my dealers needing instructions on how to transfer inventory, again, that's going to be to sister locations under one GDN. Again, we do have a file in our materials tab. You're going to be looking for IMS access through web dealer. It's going to have instructions on how to transfer that inventory. Okay, and if you had issued buyer's tags prior to July 1, those will remain valid until they expire. All right, folks, we are coming up on 12 o'clock here. Looks like we are closing out some questions here still. Again, within these next few minutes, if you haven't done so already, get the materials downloaded. Once the webinar ends, they're going to no longer be available. We do have one more Q&A session planned, and that's going to be in the afternoon. That is from 2 o'clock to 2 p.m. If you want to register for that one as well, we absolutely encourage it. If you want to register for them, that is going to be located on our calendar. You're just going to go and find today's date. You're just looking for that 2 p.m. session so that you can register. But again, we do have one more Q&A session planned in the afternoon today. Okay, if you sold the vehicle prior to July, you haven't done the title work, then yes, you are going to be using Web Dealer to submit that paperwork. And everything after July 1, so everything continuing on, you will be submitting those transactions through a Web Dealer. Okay, and one more question here about the purple provisional plates. Again, what are they going to be used for? They're going to be used when you don't have that available plate type in your inventory. So a good example would be if you ran out of farm plates and that customer is needing a farm plate, because those would have been in your inventory. Like I said, you ran out of them. You can utilize the purple provisional plates in those examples. Another example would include a portion plate if that customer needs apportioned, and also forestry. So those would be some good examples of when you are utilizing those purple provisional plates. So, all right, folks, it is 12. So we thank you guys for joining us today and providing us with some questions, making us aware of some things that we may not have been aware of. We really do appreciate you guys joining us. We are still working diligently to get some of these last questions answered really quickly here. But with these next few minutes, we'll keep it open. Again, just to close out those answers really quickly that some people may be working on still, but also, again, for the next few minutes here, again, get those handouts downloaded. But that does conclude the training. Thank you guys for attending, and I hope you guys have a good 4th tomorrow. Thanks, everybody.